Moderator. All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, it is me, Ninne Zahara, as your moderator today. We give you a warmest welcome to the Zoom meeting that have themed to celebrate 56 years of ASEAN with an international webinar on human rights in ASEAN with some special issues, talking about intellectual property rights and digital transformation to address climate change impact. Uh, at the at the meeting today, it is a wonderful chance for me to be your moderator in this webinar, and it's either an honor to me to inform you that among us here, we already have our special guest. So please welcome Dr. Lu Sudirman as our Dean Faculty of Law, Universitas Internasional Batam. We also welcome to an honorable Professor Dr. Henry Sulistyo Budi, as the head of Doctoral of Law Program, Universitas Pelita Harapan, as also our partner in this webinar. We also welcome to our beloved speakers. The first is Mr. Francis Daniel Mbilinyi. He is the Darmasiswa Indonesia from Tanzania that has just arrived in Batam last week. And also we gave the welcome to our third speaker is Ibu Putri Andini. Ibu Putri Andini is an alumni of Faculty of Law, Universitas Internasional Batam and Youngsan University. Now, currently she is working as a ASN in Kanwil Kemenkumham Kepri, the Ministry of Law and Human Rights Indonesia, Riau Islands. So before I start the before we starting the keynote speech session and the main discussion, let me inform you the schedule of the webinar. It will started by the opening remarks from the Dean Faculty of Law Universitas Internasional Batam, and also then we will continue it to the keynote speech from the head of doctoral program of Universitas Pelita Harapan, Professor Henry Sulistyo Budi, and we will continue our discussion to the first speaker, Mr. Francis Daniel, and then the last speaker, Ibu Putri Andini, will give their presentations regarding this webinar theme. So to start our seminar, we will welcome Dr. Lu Sudirman to give his opening remarks. To Dr. Lu Sudirman, please, the screen is yours.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Head of Doctor Law of Law Program, University Pelita Harapan, how will comes speaker this webinar, Professor Henry Sulistyo Budi. If you good to see you again, Prof. Honorable Speaker of the International Webinar, first I want to greet Putri and Andini, MA LL.M, alumni WIB. Welcome to WIB. Secondly, Mr. Francis Daniel, namely student Darmasiswa Indonesia. Welcome to Indonesia. Enjoy to Batam. Good day to you all participants. As the Dean of Faculty of Law, University International Batam, I really thank for willingness the speaker and participant. We are here today to experience our health application. Sorry, respect colleagues from the program Doctorimo Cum UPH for their willingness to cooperation on this webinar, international webinar on human rights in Asian, special issue intellectual property right. Is Prof. Henry's special Prof. Henry. This partnership significant the unity purpose, the commitment of both our institution to the prospect of the legal knowledge and academic collection excellent. We believe that we come together, we can create a more significant impact on the development of law and contribute the advancement and knowledge. In conclusion, I would like to extend my great all participant speaker organization. We have played instrumental role in making the webinar possible. Thank you for thank you once again for your presence and the list as community facility. Thank you for lanjut aja Bu. Karena saya udah mulai hilang. Sorry. Prof. Henry, karena saya punya problem jadi sulit untuk lanjutkan. Kami harapkan webinar bisa berjalan dengan baik. Bu Putri dan Friends.
Thank you, Dr. Lusudirman, for your opening remarks, and I hope everything can goes well with the webinar as well. Okay, so as we will entering the main discussion session, we will invite Professor Henry Solistio Budi as our keynote speaker for today. Hello, Prof. Henry.
Afternoon, Ibu Nida.
Yeah, good afternoon, Prof. Henry. I would like to read some short review, short resume of the Prof. Henry Solistio Budi. Prof. Henry Solistio Budi was born in Solo, 27 September 1955, and he was finished his law degree from the Faculty of Law Universitas Diponegoro Semarang in 1980, and he also gained his Master of Law degree in Intellectual Property Rights from University of London in 1993, and also finished his Doctor of Law program from Gajah Mada University in 2010. And he has a lot of academic achievement, especially also participated in several training courses, like including lawmaking and development at the International Law Institute in Washington D.C. 1989. Until I also read that he completed the regular course of the 36 Lemhanas in 2003. He also has a lot of various journey as in the department and also governmental institution, especially the commenced in 1981 as a research and legislation staff, then as a clemency staff, and also subsequently as a legal research staff in the Legal and Legislative Bureau of the Cabinet Secretariat in DPR RI. And following that, they held various positions. He also held various positions, including the head of Agreement Subdivision, head of Legal Research Division, and the Commission too, isn't it? Yeah. Head of the Judiciary Division and head of the Judiciary and Legal Bureau, Deputy for Politics at the Office of Vice President in 2004. And a lot more achievements he gained. And also for now, he currently standing as the head of doctoral program, Universitas Pelita Harapan. And please welcome Prof. Henry Solistio Budi to give that keynote speech in this program.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Ibu Nina. My warmest regards to Honorable Deans, Faculty of Law, UIB, Dr. Lu Sudirman. Thank you so much for the invitation, Doc. This is really good chance for me to make our cooperation getting closer. Thank you for the sending your faculty members to study in our doctoral degree program. Appreciate too much for your efforts in terms of developing human resources development in your faculty. Appreciate that. Good afternoon, all of the participants, especially faculty members and my doctoral degree student join in this afternoon's webinar. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, I will shortly address our current issues on matters related to three intriguing and important issues, namely climate change, agricultural sectors, and especially I will focus more on the importance of intellectual property system to support the policy to address the impact of, what do you call it, the impact of climate change. Allow me to share my PPT. Here we are. Let me start with the nature of climate change. Climate change can be a natural process where temperature, rainfall, winds, and other elements change over decades. And even more, as our experiencing at the moment or recently, our world has been warmer and colder. Gas emission from human activities act like a blanket wrapped around the earth, trapping the sun heat and raising temperatures. That's the nature of climate change. What the impact then? Allow me to say to identify several impact that relevant to be taken care of. The speed of the current climate change is faster than most of the past year, making it more difficult for people and natural worlds to adapt. All of this causes damages to natural ecosystem and certainly environment where we are living now. The impact of climate change now include intense drought, water scarcity, fires, raising sea level, and flooding that's happened in our Aceh area at the moment, also caused by melting polar ice, catastrophic storms, and declining biodiversity. I'm not going to talk detail on the issue of biodiversity. I'm not expert on this issue, but the issue of agriculture very related to the issue of biodiversity. In short, all that things, as I elaborate and indicate, destruct social life and human right inherent to us all. Human right inherent in all of us, inherent in our life, needed to be protected by law, needed to be protected by policy and effort in all aspects and social situation like happen at the moment. Allow me then to identify the problems affected by climate change. Dear colleagues, in short, I can say we have two problems, two serious problems, anomaly and uncertainty. The growing seasons is now no longer predictable. You cannot predict like we ever experienced 1 or 2 decades ago. Indonesia, as a tropical country that has a dry season and a rainy season, has recently no longer changed periodically as it did 2 decades ago. Totally changed, unpredictable. There are significant weather and climate change anomaly. All of that disrupts the growing season cycles to our farmers who maintained agricultural sectors. In the dry season, there is a lot of rains, and in opposite way, in the rainy season, the weather tends to be hot and dry. That is true. It happened in all ASEAN countries. And I would show Indonesia experience, especially the impact to our agricultural sectors. The biggest impact of climate change is actually more directed at the distorting the agricultural sectors and its activities. The productivity of these sectors has decreased significantly due to the shrinking of the agricultural area, along with the declining quality and carrying capacity of the land, as well as the depletion of water availability. Among our area, all these things show us that climate change has a serious impact to our environments and to our agricultural sectors. In 2050, Indonesia, as part of ASEAN, will have a very drastic increase in population. Predicted data show that this is a potential problem, both in human being and human rights. Meanwhile, the decline in productivity of agricultural product will have an impact on reducing the level of food security. The management that the government has to maintain. Minister of Agriculture reported that we cannot import rice from foreign countries, our member trading partner. What happened behind it? And that's because all of the region confronted with the problem on the climate change. They have to maintain for their own interests. And so Indonesia, the government has to be more serious in trying to address the impact of climate change on agricultural sectors. Food security is one of the very serious factors for the resilience of the nation and state as a whole. It talks about life and death. It talks about sakes of the people, and it talks about human rights as well. Beware of this kind of multifaceted impact going to come. It is expected that the ability of the state to increase food production to meet the needs of population is increasing. It is expected. There is a need of equality between food supply and population growth. The data show that the population growth will increase significantly, as I indicated in my previous statement. Dear colleagues, what should we do? We rely on the government who control our life. If we touch the issue of the policy needed to be established by the governments, in fact, ours belong to the government's official. Establishing even a simple on macroeconomy, we call macro policy, is not so that easy. That Indonesia experience. The challenge and natural conditions are very diverse, ranging from rice fields, mountain, coast, barren regions, and forest area that are actually sensitive or prone to fire. Drought and flood disaster have repeatedly occurred in several corners of the country. Anomaly, really unpredictable. In Jakarta, the weather is really hot, but our friend in Aceh region, they are having a serious problem because of flood in certain region. The policies that has to be established by governments should include optimizing the role and function of the IPR system, especially if I can touch to be focused through increasing the nation creativity and innovation based on the knowledge-based economy. Nation creativity and innovative power has to be supported and promoted, especially devoted to address the impact of climate change in all over our life aspects. It's not only on agricultural, but also in other aspects of our life, in daily activities. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to point out certain aspects that need to be focused to point out in the policies. Among others, we need a plant variety adaptable to the hotter and dry seasons. We need more and better plant variety adaptable to the changings in agricultural world. Our previous variety has no chance, has no adaptive to be continued planted to support our food supply. Second point, we need a huge food preservation system to keep the green vegetable fresh and edible. This point I take from the news yesterday that somebody in Korea invented a kind of food preservation system that can maintain vegetable and fruit to remain fresh and edible. That kind of innovation badly needed by us because we have a problem. Our farmers in the center of region far from the city has a problem on the matters related to the transportation and connectivity to market their agricultural product. More than 3 days, the vegetable is unedible. It's worse. It's become a rubbish. Sorry to use this word. That's loss of economic in terms of productivity. Dear colleagues, we need also air controlling. I can say air conditioning for agricultural areas. Again, this idea is attracted from the experience of our farmer colleague in the US, that during the dry season, they can maintain cold weather using what do you call it? Using the controlling and conditioning air technology system. It's only a matter of time that our farmer will need that kind of instruments, technological and infrastructure. It is necessary to encourage our researchers. It is necessary to encourage IPR to be empowered as a driving force to increase technological invention in agriculture and food production. Again, it is also necessary to empower IPR to discover new varieties of plant and to preserve the conservation of areas that have superior product quality based on geographical indication. That is one of the brand of intellectual property regimes, such as rice, sweet potatoes, fruits, and even coffee. Dear colleagues, agricultural economic development need to be based on patent technology invention. For sure, we have a problem and we have to solve the problem. The way we solve the problem is based on our creativity, based on our innovative intellectuality, brains, to answer and address properly all of the problem created by climate change. Again, agricultural economic development need to be based on geographical indication, plant variety protection, so that they remain compatible with the crop ecosystem, which are characterized by regional nature. Honorable deans and participants of this webinar, allow me to continue explains in a more detail what I mean by intellectual property rights. Academic concepts of intellectual property rights teach us that this legal regimes covers copyright, patent, trademark, geographical indication, industrial design, trade secrets, integrated circuits, and also plant variety protection. What then the relevance of these particular subjects of intellectual property? If I may identify shortly, copyright talking about the protection for the creation related to scientific works, artistic works, and literary works. It's not directly related to our issues today, but we have to aware the difference between copyright and other fields of intellectual property branches. Patent, I write down in the red color because this is really important. It's talking about technological invention, covers all fields of technology. It means covers also technology on biodiversity, technology on agricultural, as far as the invention is novel, involve inventive steps, and industrially applicable. There are three criteria implemented in all patent law. That's a kind of reward system um, to be considered as mechanisms to support the creativity and innovative power of our society. Trademark is talking about mark or how should I say, mark or sign to distinguish product on the market. It's not so strong related important to our topic as well. But the third one, geographical indication, is important because it's talking about signs being used, taken from the name of the region or villages to indicate the quality and the characteristic of agricultural product, such as sweet potatoes. I used to make an exact example, ubi cilembu, to reflect the importance of legal protection for this kind of variety. Industrial design, related perhaps to the packagings of the agricultural product. Trade secrets, perhaps relevant as well in terms of creating new variety of plant. Integrated circuits, I don't think so. It has no relation to our issues today. But lastly, plant variety protection. It's talking about the protection to plant breeders who focus on doing research to create new plant variety for flower, for rice, for anything that is planted for harvesting to entertain or to support our daily life. I emphasize the relevant three IPR research with additional issues, perhaps on the transfer of technology. First, as I indicate, infrastructure for agriculture land, crop cultivation system, variety of seeds, fertilizer, and pesticides. All these things is the area of technology. We badly need researchers to focus on that kind of technological invention. it doesn't mean I don't support the invention related to electronic or automotive technology, but to be more focused, better we devote it on agricultural product. Second one, plant variety protection, talking about new variety. As far as the variety is distinct, uniform, and stable. What does it mean by distinct? Distinct is different. The variety has to be different with the previous variety. The variety should be different with the existing variety. It has to be uniform. What does it mean? Wherever and whenever the variety being planted has to be uniform, both in the what do you call it, in the harvest, especially the variety has to be uniform. When the times the farmer planting it in Batam, for example, has to be the same with the variety being planted in Kalimantan, in Pontianak, in Bali, and even in Solo. Dear colleagues, stable, it's also the requirements need to be fulfilled by the breeder in making sure that the plant variety is entitled to get a protection from the governments. What does it mean by stable? Stable is also a requirement that the products of the agriculture harvest from the variety has to be stable in the sense of every times we plant it. This year, last year, next year has to be stable. No change, no significant change. Geographical indication, as I mentioned before, is a sign taken from the name of the regions or area used to indicate the origins of product. There must be a link between geographical factors, namely soil, weather, water, climate, and the quality, characteristic, or uniqueness of the agricultural product and other industrial product, limited to man-made industrial product. Dear colleagues, as I mentioned, I add a new issues related to the transfer of technology. Perhaps we cannot force our researchers in brain, in research and development belong to department or ministry. We can make a kind of cooperation among ASEAN region, among ASEAN countries. We need to establish closer cooperation among ASEAN countries because we have the same climate, we have the same problem. If colleague from Thailand, colleague from Vietnam invented technological relevance to address the problem on agricultural that also happens in Indonesia. Why not we get based on a business process, business ethic, do transfer of technology from their country. And so for Indonesia, we have to be ready to send our technology to our family from Vietnam, Malaysia, and other ASEAN countries. It's a good concept. So we can all together establish a kind of strategy to address the negative impact of the climate change. Dear colleagues, by law, there are, if I can say, two strategic instruments we call compulsory licensing and government use. The second one is using the technology supported based on presidential decree. It's a kind of forcing the owner of the technology to allow our country to make use of their technology. The first one is better instruments, mechanisms of compulsory licensing, even using compulsory, meaning not voluntary. That's the mechanisms. It's quite fair to be used and implemented in our cooperation. We are ready, and they have to be ready as well to share based on legal framework of compulsory licensing. The Indonesian people have a wealth of traditions related to farming techniques, or we call it traditional knowledge, or what do you call it? The concepts being used to land management in traditional way, in irrigation systems, plant care and harvest, and post-harvest as well. It's an asset. It's our traditional asset that has to be scrutinized as well. Perhaps there are a lot of value, a lot of technique, a lot of traditional knowledge relevant to also address the problem, because most of our farmers are also doing farming in traditional way. All this need to be preserved, developed, and applied to support modern technology in agriculture and food supply. Ibu Ninne and Honorable Deans, allow me to make up a conclusion. I should say that anomaly of dry and rainy season causing uncertainties in agricultural sectors, including the planting systems, irrigation constraints, and crop values. All that things have a serious impact to our agricultural sectors. Not much of us aware of it, but our farmers, yes. The biggest threat is the destruction of food crop governance and cultivation, which has a direct impact on food availability and security. There is a need to address it based on the proper policy, correct policy, doable policy for the sake of the people, for the sake of human rights as well, for the sake of us, you and I, for the sake of our country, for the sake of our regions. On that reasons, it is advisable to designing a doable plan of actions to empower IPR system that we trust there are a lot of opportunity to solve the problem, especially in agriculture system that has a bad impact caused by climate change. This advice is not only for Indonesia, but also for all ASEAN countries. As I indicate, we should also ask them to set up a closer cooperation to get together to solve the impact, the negative impact of climate change happened recently. The target is to produce technological inventions that are useful, effective, and right on the targets in responding to the needs to improve the performance of the agricultural sectors and food products. The policy should address properly on food security systems and human rights protection. Both are related each other and both is a matter for us. Make use of IPR system to support the policy, to support the agricultural sectors that has a serious problem today. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you, Honorable Deans, and thank you, Ibu Ninne, and all participants. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All right. Thank you so much, Prof. Henry, as your presentation. So I might conclude from all the presentation that you have given that maybe climate change can result from the natural process, including variations in temperature and weather. As we know, lately in Jakarta, we have dry season, and also in Rio Islands itself, we are here having a very quite high raining season, and it's very anomaly. However, recent human generated gas emissions act as a heat trapping blanket, accelerating climate change, and anomaly and uncertainty of climate is our biggest problem. And also, I conclude that Indonesia faces complex challenges due to its diverse landscapes, including drought and floods. Yeah, lately. Policies aim to boost innovation through intellectual property rights. Need to focusing on to adapting the crops, the preserving food, and fostering technological advancement in agriculture to ensure our food security and also food supply in the future. Okay, maybe that's a little conclusion for me regarding to Prof. Henry's presentation. So we might continue to our second speaker, which already attend here, Mr. Francis Daniel Mbilinyi. Hello, Mr. Francis. So your internet is doing well now? Is it fine? Testing. Hello, Mr. Francis. Okay, maybe Mr. Francis is processing right now. I might to read his short CV before he started. Okay, Mr. Francis Daniel Mbilinyi is the Darmasiswa Indonesia. He is a bachelor degree in international relations and diplomacy from the Center for Foreign Relations, Tanzania. And he has some of the experiences and achievements in trainings on leadership by Yali Network through U.S. Department, and also he attend primary military national service already, and also he has leadership and experiences in Indonesian embassy. He was interned in as an economic officer for 6 months, and also he volunteered in Alliance Franchise in Global Peace Foundation and other experiences in organization and any other institutions. So for the short of the time, to Mr. Francis Daniel, are you ready to present?
Yes, Ibu.
Yes,
Thank
please.
you so much.
Okay, please.
Okay. Maybe I would like to share my screen. As you have been introducing me, that I'm Francis Daniel Mbilinyi. I am from Tanzania, but now I'm the student for Darmasiswa here in the UIB, Indonesia. I also graduated from International Relations and the Diplomas as a bachelor degree from the Center for Foreign Relations in Tanzania. As to proceed, I would like to express a few issues maybe from Tanzania which are facing maybe in human rights and the digital transformation. You know that Tanzania was formed by the Union of Tanganyika and the mainland 94. I will start by introducing Tanzania. Tanzania is official called the United Republic of Tanzania, and the Tanzania was formed by the Union of Tanganyika as the mainland and the Zanzibar as an island in the 1964. Before the union, it was known as Tanganyika and Zanzibar. So after independence from the British colonial rule in 1961, by peaceful means under the leadership of Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, who was named as the founder of the father. Yeah, the geographical position of Tanzania, Tanzania is found in Africa, most especially in East Africa. As we can come to the human rights context in Tanzania, the government, as other countries, Tanzania is also dedicated to protect human rights by allowing the rule of law. And so most of the amendments in the law are done to achieve or to recognize the human rights, especially the women's, the children's, people with disabilities like albinism and elders. This dedication also makes Tanzania committed to human rights following the Constitution of the Republic of Tanzania of 1977. Yeah. And as we may know that Tanzania is also a member of international organizations such as the United Nations and also the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948 is a member and accepts human rights treaties and like Commission of Constitutions and Legal Affairs. From all these efforts, the initiative now we can come to digital transformation. Coming to digital transformation, several reforms have been done in the ministries, institutions, and all the instruments which seem to provide services to people so as to meet the current digital demand, technological systems, which can eventually lead to improved accessibility, effective services to people. Here I just quoted the this was UN Habitat Executive Director said that digital technologies have the potential to save people, improve public service and working condition, but persistent digital divides remain, and the digital revolution must be directed and governed in a democratic and inclusive way. This was Maimuna Sharif, UN Habitat Executive Director. Now we can link between the digital transformation and the human rights perspective here in Tanzania. The question which we may have that is where this human right dedicated strongly enough to human rights, or he or she can use to deplore the human rights in Tanzania or in anywhere. So deciding who collects, controls, access, and maintain data is fundamental and requires strong commitment to human rights. Yeah. Now we can even see that the United Nations, also United Nations General Assembly and Human Rights Council have been raising a resolution to human rights and the digital rights, which rely on the risk of surveillance, things like interception of data collection by the governments, companies, or institutions related to government or related to private ones to oversee the violation of human rights. Now we can see that how Tanzania now implements the human rights on digital transformation. Here, actually, the implementation of human rights are through the Ministry of Constitution and the Legal Affairs for human rights. As we may know, funds from the development partners, private institutions have been increasing, supporting the elaboration of our national human rights action plan. And this technological support have led to more digital transformation on that has significantly increased the number of people connected and to communication and internet services. So their help to us as Tanzanians to support the digital transformation has led more number of people to join the communication and the internet services access. In a digital transformation on on criminal justice, Tanzania, for today's presentation, I just currently done under the great reforms in Tanzania, especially in linking the digital transformation and the criminal justice, targeting most of. So I just took two aspects as the Tanzania judicial system and also the Tanzanian police force, that we can look how the digital transformation on criminal justice has led to impact the human rights in Tanzania. So coming to the now the Tanzanian court, High Court, is using the electronic offices in so as to simplify the work and make more easy access to people, and also to those who wanted to join the judicial matters. So it has improved the performance, including the speed of delivery of decisions. These connections with some ministries and government institutions, more than 100 of them. So how this has been able, it's that the judicial system of Tanzania is using the electronic office, as is connected also to the ministries of constitution and legal affairs, and also it is connected to these human rights commissions in Tanzania, just to see how the services can be well provided to the people, because it's so as to meet the judicial. For example, someone can commit a crime and needs to go to the police, maybe after the police, to go to the judicial system. They have connected these offices to simplify this work and also to get more decisions. Also, this court coordinating consultations electronically. So the consultations are done electronically in Tanzania, so as to meet this the access to this criminal justice. So as for now, 5 or 4 weeks ago, the Criminal Justice Commission had undergone surveillance, more surveillance in the criminal justice in Tanzania, and came up with problems, challenges, shortcomings that hinder the function of the important institutions to implement human rights in the countries. So this commission was founded by the president herself, who is Samia Suluhu Hassan, found this commission for criminal justice so as to make surveillance to the whole country to see how the people, all the challenges people get, all the problems, all the shortcomings which are get from the police force on the issue of criminal justice. So criminal justice suggested the use of technology. The use institution is the one of the thing that emphasized in the Criminal Justice Commission that investigated and identified the shortcomings that hinder the functioning of these important the prison, the judiciary. Yeah. Mentions all the challenges have been put, and the solutions which have been developed by this commission is if the file is sent to the commissioner, maybe the police commissioner, through the file. This is big transformation and wasn't there before. This system will eventually increase the efficiency of the police force on the side of criminal justice. Also, the system will help to increase accountability. That if I send you this, my own, maybe I've come to register my case, then the case is resolved or not, I can see it through the system. So there are big transformation in criminal justice based on police force in Tanzania. But apart from all, we can see that the digital transformation has important into practicing human rights, maybe in Tanzania or in any countries. But in our countries also we have some challenges. As you can see from the screen that one is of in the cultural rights of their spouse. So in that, for people to get there. So from these challenges, we can see also the second challenge is relative professions that are contrary to commit to our towards the international human rights standards. Also, for this second challenge, we can give the example. Some laws are just contrary to the international human rights, especially on culture and the social rights. We can have an example from this. We call them the international LGBT and other issues, maybe cultural rights. So they are so contrary to our countries. Also, coming to the third challenge, that is the need to further domesticate international human rights standards. Here, Tanzania also has some challenges because, as you know, in the process of maybe of international law, you can sign, but you cannot ratify. You can ratify, but you cannot exceed. So it's a bit challenging to us or to the system of our government that signed but have not been ratified. So it's a bit challenge also some of the these human have them into systems of signed or has not ratified or has not exceeded the treaties. So those are some challenges. And also coming to the fourth challenge, the need to develop and reform legislation in conformity with international standards of judicial systems. We have also these prisons, we have the police. So they are not in international standards so that they can provide human rights as in the international standards, because we do not have some huge fund so as to develop more or advance them to the international standards. So this is also a big problem to us.
Yes, I'm sorry, 2 minutes left for the next presentation.
Okay. The fifth one is substantive on operation, is the strengthening and the accessibility of human rights institutions with particular focus on CHRAGG. This one also, this is very low for our countries to operation this strengthening and accessibility to human rights institutions, because we can see that if people have not given much attention to maybe rights or properties, like right to education, to what, but they still rely on political rights, still still low strengthening processes on the human rights. So, and the last one is legal system defects and accessibility of remedies.
Hello, sir.
In human rights, on the other issues, so it's becoming a bit challenge to them to join. Yeah, but bit them to join. Okay, as the time has gone, thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
Mr. Francis. It's quite challenging for you, of course, because the network is quite buffering, and also you've been kicked once, yeah, last time. I really appreciate that you're still very spiritful to finish your presentation, and it's very fabulous. And I will conclude from your presentation that we may start from the Encyclopedia of Tanzania, of course, that the United Republic of Tanzania is dedicated to safeguarding human rights, of course, and upholding international agreements and improving governance right now. They are ratified numerous human rights treaties, and I'm to develop a national human rights action plan. Tanzania's digital transformation also involves the use of technology in various sectors, including the judiciary and police force. Yeah, enhancing efficiency and access to justice. Challenges. From the challenges that you have. From Mr. Mbilinyi has explained that include constitutional gaps, contradictory legislation, and the need for further domestication of international standards, legal system deficits, and also to strengthening human rights institution like CHRAGG. And Tanzania so concluded that, like other nations, aim to embrace technology for accessible services and inclusive urban development. But addressing digital divides is a crucial needs right now. Okay, maybe there's a conclusion from what Mr. Mbilinyi has been present. Thank you, Francis Daniel Mbilinyi, for your presentation. We'll continue to our last speaker, last but not least, Ibu Putri Andini. Okay, she's already here. Well, I will read the short curriculum vitae of her. Yeah, her name is Putri Andini, and she was born in 1994, November 12th. And she right now is currently become the legal analyst in the Ministry of Law and Human Rights, Regional Office Kepulauan Riau, since 2019 until now. She was graduated from Faculty of Law, Universitas Internasional Batam, and also Youngsan University, South Korea. She been in a double degree program last time, and she also have ever become the lecturer of Faculty of Law, Universitas Internasional Batam, from 2017 until 2019. So hereby I welcome Ibu Putri Andini to present your presentations. Your time is about 15 minutes. You may proceed.
Thank you so much, Ibu Ninne. Good afternoon, Honorable Dean, Mr. Lusudirman, Professor Henry Sulistyo, and also Mr. Francis, and also ladies and gentlemen here in the Zoom meetings. Today, I have the opportunity to share you information related to intellectual property, early knowledges and challenges in digital era. First, I will try to share my screen first. Okay, can you see it?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so as Ibu Nina has already introduced me to you that my name is Putri Andini. I'm an alumni of Universitas Internasional Batam and also Youngsan University. And right now I'm a legal analyst, Kepulauan Regional Office of Ministry of Law and Human Rights. Okay, so let's start with the first set of the slides. Intellectual property. So ladies and gentlemen, intellectual property, as we know, according to World Intellectual Property Organization, is a creation of the minds. Everything from works of art to inventions, computer programs to trademarks, designs, symbols, and images used in commerce, which is protected by law. So it will give certainty and enable people to earn recognition or financial benefit from what they have created or invented, which what we called as intellectual property rights. Yes. Intellectual property rights is a legal protection given to the creativity and innovation of a person as the creator of the products or services. So by striking the right balance between the interest of innovators and the wider public interest, intellectual property aims to foster an environment in which creativity and innovation can flourish. So here, we will try to search the right link here. What is the connection between intellectual property and digital era? So, ladies and gentlemen, if we heard the terms of digital era, it will be referred to digitalization. Digitalization means technology has become a part of people's life activities, as it alleviates the problems or challenges experienced by people in their everyday lives. Therefore, digitalization refers to the amalgamation of material or information into a digitized form. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we know, as you can see it on the screen, nowadays phenomenon is that everything can be found digitally. We can access everything everywhere in just one click through technology. Along with the development of technology, there are several side effects. Due to the development of digitalization, the issues of piracy and infringement has grown on a global scale. The form of piracy and infringement issues that are happening now are more intangible, where it could be done easier and faster. So here are the challenges, the piracy and the infringement issues. So in order to face and be ready for that challenges, us, Ministry of Law and Human Rights, triggers a program called DJKI Mengajar. So, DJKI Mengajar is an intellectual property learning media from an early stage to instill students' understanding. So, our main focus here is to give information to students all across 4th to 8th grader on the importance it is to protect as well as the provision to create a generation who is aware and appreciates intellectual property and also foster a passion for work and innovations. This program, DJKI Mengajar, is one of 16 2002 flagship programs of Directorate General of Intellectual Property under Ministry of Law and Human Rights in order to reach the world-class IP office. So, ladies and gentlemen, in order to run the program, first thing first, it needs teacher, of course, to give the education related to base norm of intellectual property to the students. So on August 2nd, 2002, Minister of Law and Human Rights, Mr. Minister, inaugurated around 346 rookies or teacher of IP, but we usually call it rookies, guru KI. So we call it rookie by Minister of Law and Human Rights. There are 346 rookies in Indonesia, spread throughout Indonesia, including Kepulauan Riau. In Kepulauan Riau, we have 10 rookies based in Kantor Wilayah Kepulauan Riau. And after that, to start the program, the ministry made an opening event on September 28th, 2022, in order to introduce rookies to school in every province. So it was held simultaneously throughout Indonesia, including in Kepulauan Riau, because Tanjung Pinang is the capital city of Kepulauan Riau, so we held it in Tanjung Pinang. And then we, rookies, have targets to share information to students. So in 2022 until now, 2023, in order to strengthening and deepening materials on intellectual property for rookies, the ministry held seminars by Zoom meetings or face-to-face meetings. So the ministry gave us rookies the opportunity to learn more about intellectual property by seminars or training, and the newest training was held around last April in Yogyakarta. So we gathered there to get information and education related to intellectual property, not only related to intellectual property, but also how to share information to students, because we tend to, I'm sorry, there's a little interruption here. Okay, so not only we were trained to education related to intellectual property, or how to give that information to students, because we know that giving information, giving some knowledge to students is a little bit different from giving information to adults. Okay, so and every trimester, rookies will go to school to meet the students and share things and education related to intellectual property. So every trimester we get the targets to, okay, we have to go to school to give information. So not only students who came to the event on September 28th that will get the information related to intellectual property, but also students who cannot attend the event will also get the information or education related to intellectual property. So for the starting program, which is held on 28th September 2022, it was participated by 6 schools in Tanjung Pinang as the capital city of Kepulauan Riau, which is include 4 elementary schools and 2 junior high schools in Tanjung Pinang, joined by 250 students from 4th to 8th graders, and it was a 100% success. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is some documentary about that event. This program, the DCKI Mengajar, aims to give early knowledges to students. Not only for students actually, but also for the teachers related to intellectual property. A school is an educational institution whose role is to foster students to develop their interests and talents. And after this program, we hope that it can give and also increase students' awareness of the importance of intellectual property, how they can create or even invent something in their early age, so it can encourage the growth in qualities and quantities of arts and innovations. So in Batam itself, we already start our rookies go to school, starting to Sekolah Maitra Wira around last year. So I hope that we can expand not only in Sekolah Maitra Wira, but also in another elementary school and junior high school there in Batam City. As we know, Batam City is an industrial city, so the opportunity for giving us more inventions or creations more likely happen in Batam than any other city in Kepulauan Riau. So, Ibu Nina and ladies and gentlemen, that's all for my presentation. Thank you so much. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much, Ibu Putri, for your presentation. It's really glad to know that Ministry of Law and Human Rights already put a concern to enhance the knowledge of the minor students in Indonesia to enhance the knowledge in intellectual property and also in digital transformation. It's of course have an aims to protect themselves from the word threats in the internet and also from in digital worlds. Yeah, of course, like from game or anything. Like we all know that in our mobile phone also have some potential of threats, like the advertisement of the online gambling or any pornography that can attack our kids as well. So maybe that's all the presentation of three of our speakers from the keynote speech until our third speaker, Ibu Putri Andini. And maybe before we start our discussion sessions, I would like to ask to the participants, all the participants, to turn on your camera so we can take a picture. Yeah, before we start the discussion session and the closing remarks. Please open your camera in maybe for now, because I will take a picture in a moment. Okay. Anybody else want to turn on your camera, please? Okay. Okay, shall we start now to take picture? Maybe I'll count from 3 and 3. Yeah, it's the first page. Yeah, for the first page in 3, 2, 1. A smile. Now this is the second page. I would like to take picture. Please turn on your camera. 3, 2, 1. And then we have 4 pages in 3, 2, 1. And then the last one in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Now we are joining. We have some other minutes until 4 p.m. to start our Q&A sessions. For now, maybe I will open for 3 questions first. 3 questions from the participants. Do you have any questions? You may raise your hands. Oh, we got first. Okay, so I can ask directly. Okay, we got the first question from Anissa Akila Azza. She is the students in UIB. Do we have any other 2? Or I will help Akila to read the first questions. So I think this question is aimed to Mr. Francis Daniel. Yeah, she apologized because there's a problem with the device, so she cannot ask directly. She like to ask Mr. Francis about albino discrimination in Tanzania. Albinos in Tanzania experience persecution and violence by local communities for deep-rooted supernatural reasons. Albinos then fought to gain human rights and end all the suffering experienced by albinos in Tanzania. The main factor is inequality in access to information in Tanzania. In her opinion, The key to overcoming this problem lies in the thinking of local communities, which must be changed. Currently, Tanzania is working to increase the speed of use of technology to increase access to justice and professionalism. Is this enough to help the albino people to get their rights now? And what is the condition of albinism in Tanzania today after the increasing speed of technology? That's the first question from Anissa Akila. Do you mind, Mr. Francis, to answer it directly?
Yeah, Ibu. I don't know if it was just one question or two questions, because I have experienced here not good internet. But the question of albinism before the albinism was just it's not good treated in our countries. That from the traditional perspectives, that people were taking away albinos for the traditional perspectives. But afterwards, the government, as I said before, that is trying to improve how to access these human rights to this albinism. For example, after the several killings of albinism there due to traditional reasons, the government has taken initiative to start the new ministry. So it was introduced, the new ministry was called the Ministries of Gender, Elders, and the People with Disabilities, so that they can easily be accessed and also they are accessing the services from the government directly. So in the promotion of human rights for the albinism, so the government has made several amendments into law, and also have made domestic, they amended ministry responsible for gender
Okay.
in Tanzania. That's all I can say.
Yes, okay. Thank you, Mr. Francis Daniel, for your answer. So we'll continue to the next questions. It came from Ibu Winshirley Tan. She already raised hands to Miss Winshirley. You may proceed your questions.
Okay, thank you, Bu Ninne. Actually, I have two questions. The first question is delivered to Professor Henry, and my second question is delivered to Ibu Putri Andini. Hello, Bu Putri. Nice to see you. Yeah, my first question is delivered to Prof. Henry. As we know, the relationship between the climate change and technology is polycentric problems, I think. So there are a lot of debates regarding the ethical and governance approaches to be taken by different actors at international, state, local, and private levels regarding the place of IP. So the relation between IP and climate change has been subject of some important discussion at international level, I think. And I believe that is the big discussion in international level. So my question is, what is the professor opinions, in your opinions, regarding the regulations at the international level regarding the IP and climate change? And are the Indonesian national regulation is still in line with this international regulations? This is my first question. And my second question is delivered to Bu Putri. As you mentioned before, you pointed out that Kemenkumham already have socialization about the IP for the public. So my question is, what are the challenges for the Ministry of the Law and Human Rights, or Kemenkumham, in socialization or disseminating the IPR to public, especially when you conducting the dissemination to the children? So what the challenges that you face on this socialization? So that's all my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Win Shelley, for the questions. So, Prof. Henry, do you mind to answer first? And for the second question, then
Yes,
continue.
Ibu, I will.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Bu Win. How was your feeling? This coming 2 weeks, you are going to be a doctor of law in our program.
It's very nervous, Prof.
No worries. I prepare myself to set up a series of questions, perhaps 12 questions for you
Okay.
for the coming exam. Anyway,
Okay.
good point, Ibu. What I'm going to say is I should start with international agreement. That is our umbrella in the developments of intellectual property rights legal system in all members WTO countries. If I may, all of the WTO member countries have a standard, have a rules, have a norms, sets of norms that are in harmony each other because we have to comply with the TRIPS agreements as our umbrella. Every country should set up the regulation based on this standard. So no question anymore concerning the necessity of checking whether international regulation covered under WTO agreements 1994 for effectiveness. I'm prefer to say, Ibu, to evaluate and measure how effective national regulation, which already based on the TRIPS agreements under the WTO, in addressing a kind of serious problem that we confronted today because of climate change situation. How serious the impact of climate change has to be measured, whether we are on a crisis like we confronted COVID pandemic last 2 years, or we still care it as a manageable issue. I'm afraid we are doubtful in this point. In my perspective, my personal perspective, climate change is the very serious one. I just make use of the example, the impact of climate change in agricultural sectors, not touching other fields of life that also has a problem. Enjoyment of life is also become a victim of climate change. Now, how effective national legislation? I mean, Indonesia IPR system in responding or anticipating the quote-unquote crisis of food because of climate change. Do we have an instrument to give a solution, proper solution concerning the impact of climate change. As I indicate in my presentation this afternoon, that yes, we have a cooperation, transfer of technology mechanisms, we have compulsory licensing mechanisms, we have instruments of government use. But all of these instruments need to be put on the same platform of spirits of cooperation, limited to our collegiality in ASEAN member country. Do we trust to our friends in Vietnam, in Thailand, that they are willing to send their technology to us? Or do they also trust to us that we are willing to implement cooperations? It's such kind of frank and honest principle. We don't have any test on that kind of issues. Ibu and Shirley, allow me to focus on the evaluation on the regulation, on national regulation. Yes, Ibu, we have that kind of instrument to address a possibility of crisis, a possibility of serious condition because of climate change under the schemes of intellectual property law regimes, but we need more trust cooperation with other countries belong to the ASEAN cooperation. That would be the solution, not only single policy for Indonesia, make use in Indonesia, but we are all together in cooperation, addressing and trying to solve the problem together among ASEAN countries. I hope this answers your question, Ibu. If you are not happy or unsatisfaction, we have a day before your examination forum for discussion on this issue. No worries. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you so
Ibu
much, Prof.
Ninne.
Henry.
Okay, so we continue to Bu Putri Andini to answering.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Ninne. First of all, I would say thank you to Miss Shirley for the amazing question for me. Hello, Miss. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Bu Putri. Nice to meet you too.
Okay, so I will try to answer your question related to the challenges for us about giving information about intellectual property to not only the students but also to the civil society. Actually, for the students, there are challenges we faced while giving the information related to intellectual property, such as how to deliver the information so that the children, the students, will understand it carefully. Because sometimes, in order to give information or in order to explain something to children, is a little bit different to how we explain something to the adulters. So, uh, as I shared to you before, that we rookies got some training from the experts about how to explain, how to transform some information to students, to the kids, so they can understand it carefully. So we were trained about how to speak, how to react, because sometimes kids are a little bit noisy. So we got the trainers trained us about how to face children uh, with the audio visual, or also with the kinetics kind of methods. And also for the civil society, it also kind of challenging because sometimes civil society did not understand about intellectual property. They only know, okay, we have some product and this is my intellectual property. No, there's actually several intellectual properties, such eight intellectual property, which Professor Henry already elaborate just now. So the challenges are how to explain to the civil society that there are several intellectual property and your product is not just intellectual property. There's some kind of the specialization that in a product there are trademarks, or in a song there's copyright, or in an invention there's a patent. So the challenges is how to explain to them so they can get the information carefully and they can finally understand about what intellectual property they actually have. Thank you, Miss. I hope that answer your question. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bu Putri. It's very clear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Henry and Bu Putri for answering the Ibu Winshelley's question. So I think it's already 4 a.m. Do you mind if we open the very last questions from the participants? Is there any other question, maybe last questions for the speakers? Okay. Since I think the question is already run out. Okay, then we might come to an end of this discussion. So, ladies and gentlemen, here we are about to come to an end of this meeting. So, I might conclude that it is a great insight and knowledge from our outstanding speakers today. I believe we all learned new knowledge so in this afternoon. So, this is the end of the discussion on collaboration between Universitas Internasional Batam and Universitas Pelita Harapan, especially between the faculties of law, entitled to celebrate 56 years of ASEAN. We held an international webinar on human rights in ASEAN with special issues, intellectual property rights and digital transformation to address climate change impact. Thank you for all of the speakers, start from the keynote speaker, Prof. Henry Sulistyo, and the speakers, Mr. Francis Daniel, and also Ibu Putri Andini. Thank you also the attendance of our Dean, Faculty of Law UIB, Dr. Lu Sudirman, for your willingness to be here today. So it's me, Ninne Zahara, will to thank you all the participants who has joining this webinar since the beginning until now. Thank you so much, and I'm sorry if I'm mistaken to saying the name or any words in this webinar. I hope we can meet again in another webinar in the next session. Thank you and
Thank you very much, Ibu Ninne. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Ibu. Thank you, Ibu Winshelley, and thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
bro.
Ibu Kumham. I forgot her names. I hope someday when we have what do you call it, PKM to Batam, we can share exchange of view on intellectual property for UMKM in the Batam region.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prof.
Thank
Henry.
you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ibu.
Thank you, Prof. Henry.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Dr.
Bye-bye.
Lu.
Thank you.
Change.